let's have a look at some tapers. So these are some tapers that I've made with 16mm square bar or 5/8 inch. So I started off with a bar 5 inches long, 125mm, and put a punch mark. The first taper here is a chisel taper. So we thin it out to a taper along the surface, but we maintain the thickness the whole length of the bar from the punch mark. So we keep it about a 1/16 or 1.5 mm at the end, but we retain the same thickness the whole length. So you can see the way, if I line up the punch marks, it is stretched or been drawn out. The second one, that's our chisel taper. The second one is the square taper. So again, we start with the punch mark and we go to the end of the bar and we taper it out of the end first, 90 degrees, both sides this time. So we'll be rotating it over and back 90 degrees, and we'll do the tip, the end first, and work our way back along until we get to our punch mark. Following on from this one, we will be doing an octagon, and when you taper those, you'll get 8 sides all the way around. Then following the octagon, by getting rid of all the corners, we end up with it round. So here's our punch mark. And then finally, this one is quite different. This one is the diamond taper. So with this one, when we're holding the bar, we will hold it at a 45-degree angle. So the stock here is at 45 degrees. We'll hold it up slightly off the anvil. So in other words, if this is our starting bar, we'll hold it up slightly. We'll go after that tip there, and then rotate 90 there. Keep going over and back. And this is what we end up with. So we'll go after the end and work our way back until we get to our punch. So you should end up then with a flat surface continuing on, a line going to the middle. You should end up with the diamond shape here on each surface. And that's what you're trying to achieve. You can see the way, starting with the same bar. So I put the chisel one there, the square, the round, finally the diamond. That we get various lengths. So on our stock, it'll be 12mm or 1/2 inch. We'll be measuring 38mm or 1.5 inches in to the punch mark. After you get the exercise done, is to measure the distance then. What do they work their way out to? And take notes of that. So here are the bars we'll be working with. So we can use short bars. We'll measure in 1.5 inches to the punch mark. Measure in. Line up the punch carefully and a good solid blow. Make sure that's accurate, make sure it's clear. Each time you put it into the fire, put the punch mark on top, it'll make it easier to see it. You could also use a longer bar. You won't need the tongs then. And when you're hammering, remember, you'll be holding the bar up at a slight angle so that your tapers will match on both sides. Okay, so we'll light the fire and we'll start making our tapers. So we have a high heat on the end of the bar and we're hammering and forging at the tip first and we work our way back along the bar. So when we turn it 90 degrees sideways, we correct any widening that happened. If we tap the end, we correct any, keep it flat at the end. So keeping the point over the far, or near the far side of the anvil, stops the hammer hitting the anvil surface. So there's tapping the end, squaring it up, getting it right. After I do that, then you gotta correct anything else then. So you keep going back over it. When the heats are lower, in the orange, you can see everything easier. Now I'm correcting the sides. Checking everything again and again as you go. That heat there now is lovely to see where any hammer marks might be. So the cooler heats allow for finishing, and the real high heats are for forging. So you can see there I used the hammer to hold the piece while I adjusted my tongs. So work your way up and down along the slant to get the finish that you want. So you can see there the way you're able to square up the nib or the tip of it, and the tip then should end up about 1/16 of an inch or 1.5 mm wide, and it should be the full width then of your piece, so 1/2 inch or 12 mil. So run your eye along the bar to check that there's no twists or bends. Okay, so we're onto the square taper. So again, we go for the end, make it into a point in that first heat. And then we're going to work our way back along the bar. So the tongs is held tightly into my body, and we rotate over and back 90 degrees. And every time we're hammering then, when we turn it to 90 degrees, we can see if there's a thickness to be looked at on the other side. So again, be careful the hammer doesn't hit the anvil surface. And as you're working your way from the point back up along the bar. When we get to the punch mark then, you got to watch for the punch mark to get it exactly right. So the lower heats allows me to see clearly where any hammer marks are and to try and do finishing blows. But there must be still that dull red heat in the metal. If it goes too cold, you might start splitting, causing splits in the metal, especially at the tip. So there's the square taper. So the octagon taper, we start at the tip again, and we have to forge our square taper first. And the octagon is what we would do as well before we would go to round. So after the tip is done, we go after the whole section up to the punch mark, and we forge it out, make it even, and work our way with our hammer blows then up and down along the taper itself. And like there now, we'd straighten the bar with some of the blows if we see a bend occurring. So even though it's an octagon we're doing, and I'm still focusing here on the square taper, the reason is that the accuracy of the square taper will decide then how good we can get the octagon taper. And that'll be the same then when we go to the round, because we'll be doing square, then octagon, finally to round, by taking off all the corners. So as you're hammering here the corners of the square, flattening them, we'll be making our octagon. So as you can see, the piece bends quite easily. So you can correct that as you see it. You can forge or hammer on the side to force that bend back down on the opposite side or whatever. So we just work our way up and down along the lines, and we're checking that the widths are consistent of each flat surface. So because it's gone to black here now, I can see way too much. And I'm starting to go after things now. So if there's any forging, correcting little lines, mightn't be too bad. But if there was forging to be done, we need to heat it up. So there's that piece. in an octagon shape. So I have 8 sides now because I took away the 4 corners of the square. So we have to go through the same procedure again to get our round taper. So that's why we're learning each of the tapers. So start off at the tip, get the square into a point, and we'll rotate simply over and back 90 degrees. We don't go around to the underneath sides at all. The anvil is doing the underneath as we go. So the bar is held up at that slight angle to match the taper that we're making. You'll know if you have it up too high or too low straight away. When you rotate the 90 degrees, you'll see that it's bent one way or the other to tell you if you have the bar a bit high or the tongs a bit high or not. And to get the accuracy as well, we're holding the tongs tight to our body, rotating over and back. So we're going after again corners of the square that had 4, square had 4 sides, and as we flatten those corners we'll make it 8 sides, getting our octagon. So that's a very important process to learn, going from square to octagon and then to round, whenever we're doing a round bar. The square, octagon, round, it allows us to see consistency as we're going. So when we get our square, we get the square correct, whether it's a taper square or just a straight square without any taper. And by having the square right, then we will move on, get our octagon right. And when we get our octagon right and consistent along the bar, then we'll be able to go to round by taking all the corners off the octagon. That way then, the round bar or taper that we finish with will be consistent and correct. So going from octagon to round doesn't require heavy hammering because the forging is all done. What we're doing is we're trying to take away all the lines and the bumps. So we work our way up and down along the taper and rotating the bar as we go. So you can check how long each of the tapers changed from the punch mark that you began with. You could try any other bars as well. Heavier bars, lighter bars, round bars, it works on all of them. And keep a note of the process. So the final taper that we have to show is the diamond taper. And what the diamond taper will show you is if you're hammering any way, sideways, crooked, it'll show up on the surfaces of the taper. So your first ones will show you this, and each time you do the next diamond taper, you work on holding the tongs solid. Look down at the tongs, the end of the tongs, see is that bar exactly at the 45 degrees? Because that's the only way you'll get that taper right. So when you get the tip done, you work your way back up along and you keep checking things as you go. So by examining everything very carefully and looking at those lines, you can do little final corrections on any little blemishes. But really the work was when you began that forging. That first heat nearly decided how accurate this is going to be. So here are the 5 tapers, and you can check then from this list that you have it flat, even, no burn marks, no hammer marks, centered, and each surface the same.